kind of like I should be a pilot. Yes, I wanted to keep these on. Yeah. I'm going to go over some LMI, but just a real quick question: who's new to IT? Who's new to tech generally? Last year or two. So I am as well. So I've been in the attached to the tech industry for about 2 years now. My actual background is in public administration and workforce development, community development specifically. And I've worked in several different sectors in basically policy for workforce development for the labor market. And I've worked in retail and hospitality, in construction and healthcare. And this is my last foray into tech, which, as was mentioned, it's really heating up right now. It's been heating up. It sailed through the recession while the other sectors, at least locally and even nationally, were not doing as well. And the growth can continue, but I'll talk more about that. But I just want to introduce my office first. So I work for the San Francisco Office of Economic and Workforce Development. So we're a city department that started under the mayor's office many moons ago. And I joined about 6 years ago. And we had a staff of about, maybe 15 at most. And now we're probably 50 or 60. And we have a workforce development division, which I'm part of. And we work also with our economic development counterparts. But we've grown substantially to basically create a more citywide approach to workforce development. So, I jumped ahead. So our office not only sets policy, but we actually manage all the one-stop career centers that you see. So if you've ever been laid off, and you have to do job search at an unemployment office, these are all over the city, and we've actually created a new structure, and we call them access points. And I focus on a tech access point, which is actually the Bay Area Video Coalition in Potrero/Soma/Mission. It's kind of in that gray area right there. And we, as an office, we fund different initiatives that are really high growth, so specifically tech, hospitality, healthcare, and construction. And what we try to do is we create what we call sector strategies. And I know I'll get to the tech stuff. This is really boring, but it's good context. But what we try to do is basically do a lot of investment to ensure that a continuum of job seekers have access to training, to career pathways, that ultimately we can help people move up the career ladder. So if you look at the Bay Area, you see the largest bubble up there, information, communications, and technology. It's by far the leading industry in San Francisco and the Bay. This was actually done by our city economists, maybe a couple years back while we're still sort of in the throes of the recession. And if you notice construction on the left there, that's changed considerably since then. So it's kind of a theme that what I'm going to talk about today could change in 6 months. It's really to keep that in mind. There's more cranes over San Francisco than we've ever seen in most people's living history in San Francisco. So there's a lot of growth happening now, but things can change on a dime. So here's looking at the ICT industry in the region and in San Francisco. You see that over the next 10 years, or since 2008 to 2018, there's estimated 50,000 jobs that are going to be created in the region, and 20,000 of those are going to be in San Francisco. So San Francisco is growing a lot faster than other areas in the Bay, including Silicon Valley, and has for a couple of years now. An 85% growth in San Francisco is pretty unheard of. So you're in the right industry. There's going to be a lot of opportunity for you and continuing. Yeah.
For clarification, when you say tech industry, do you mean companies that actually just deal in tech, or are you talking about
Yes, the latter. Yeah, so it's high tech when we talk about it. It's multiple sectors, industries, however you want to define it. But it's companies that it could be Twitter, it could be a hospital. It's based on the occupations of people who are working in networking security, programming, multimedia, etc. Um, so yeah, definitely it's high growth and high tech. And this particular synopsis here is actually does not include self-employment um, or proprietors, meaning that if you do gigs, if you're your own boss, basically, you haven't been included in this. So it could be higher, but we don't know. My colleague Mayav has actually did this, so she might know, but I don't know how much additional growth that would be. And then just to give an idea of the impact of the tech industry, there's been a couple of studies done on the growth of high tech jobs in the industry and just tech companies generally. And for every one high tech job or a job at a tech company that's created, about 4.5 jobs are created in other industries. If you think about healthcare, hospitality, tourism, services to businesses. So it's really growing all different industries because of the high growth. So a couple of years ago, as I mentioned, getting into the tech industry, what what we did is we created this initiative, and we actually just leveraged partners that we were already existing, already offering training, like City College, like San Francisco State, and tried to pull everyone together in order to help more people find employment in the city. And we applied actually to the Department of Labor for a couple of grants, and they awarded 8 million in total, of which 6 million we invest directly into the city, into training programs, and into some courses you actually might be in. And overall, we leverage different funds and invest 2 million annually in the tech industry. So, what we're trying to do in the long term is ensure, as I mentioned, that a continuum of job seekers have opportunity, and the TechSF helps us actually bring together educators, community-based organizations, industry, to be able to work together to solve in the long term what we see now as a skills gap that exists in San Francisco in high tech. And so some of those long-term strategies include aligning educational system offerings with what's in demand by the tech companies' currently specific occupations. And our office, one of our major roles is actually to conduct research, focus groups, surveys, roundtables, etc., to collect basically labor market information in real time. Because, like I said, it changes every 6 months, and the tech industry is very dynamic, so it actually is always sort of evolving, and it moves more quickly than other industries. So, what I'm going to try to do is share what I've gathered at a pretty high level. So I won't be going into details around specifically what you need for a programming degree, what specific jobs are available, where you should apply. I don't know that information offhand, and it's pretty specific to the individual. And I'm also not in the industry, so I know about the Scrum, but I couldn't tell you what the daily Scrum looks like, while you're actually working at a tech company. But I do have the benefit of having a lot of different sources of information. So I've synthesized for you this for you today, and what I want to try to offer is how to think about the data, what some of the major trends are, how to understand the ICT hiring culture, which is really important and very different than many other industries. So I'm going to talk about current labor market information and ICT industry hiring trends specifically. So Just to give credit where credit's due, these are all the sources that I've utilized. There's a couple other sources that other people used in their reports that I used, and I didn't get to that level. But if I mention something specifically, I'll source it up here. But you get an idea of where we're actually getting the information. Some of it is reading reports, but a lot of it is actually culling data and having data analysts look at it, and conducting focus groups with employers and analyzing that data, finding themes. There's a really smart team of people who do all this work with me, and I'm certainly involved in a lot of the focus groups, which is my main role in bringing employers together. But there's just a bit of information that other people have brought to the table. So, labor market information starts with a caveat, and that's that the job titles that are out there that you see have little consistency across company or industry. So when you're trying to look at the granular level of job data, you're going to find thousands of titles for a few different types of jobs. There's no consistency. When you compare it to, say, the healthcare industry, which is highly regulated with nurses and registered nurses, it's clearly defined what type of job you're applying for. But in the IT industry, it's happening very quickly. There's all sorts of different interpretations of what a job title is. So there's actually a whole series of reports by the Centers of Excellence that just talk about this problem, and they try to they actually do a great job of describing how to really read the information. Another nuance is there's all different types of subsectors in ICT. So social media comes to mind. That's a big cluster in San Francisco that's growing, Twitter and Zoosk and so forth. Multimedia is another one. I have up here advertising, brick and mortar operations, so your PG&E and others that need, say, a lot of networking and security, IT technicians. So you really have to look at what the different subsectors are to figure out what types of skills, what types of jobs are available. It's not very straightforward, and you also have to look at the company business models. And I pick out these two. There's lots of other things to look at, but these are two things that really stuck out to me. When I say company business model, it's business to business or business to consumer. And so a business to consumer product would be Facebook, right? Business to business might be Salesforce. So the types of skills, what they're programming, what they're developing, the user experience that they're even developing for the client is completely different. That means the programming skills are different. The skills that you need will be different. So it's important to look at what types of companies are also kind of in the sphere that you're looking for. I think the best advice I would have from this is when you're thinking about looking for a job, first think about what subsector is. Is it advertising? Then think about the company and do lots of different research, because they may each company does things a little differently. Particularly the larger companies, they're going to be using a lot of different technologies and even proprietary technologies. And then the final caveat is you need a lot more context to determine what's necessary in terms of skills, and we'll talk about that today. So my colleagues at WestEd actually created this chart. So what it is a keyword search on Indeed.com from the fall, just looking at the types of skills, and you see these are pretty recognizable: JavaScript, Android development, iOS development, user interaction, user experience, HTML5. JavaScript and HTML particularly are often skills needed for web development. And that's actually the example. If you look at that, you see web developer listed twice, once under JavaScript and once under HTML5. And what this is saying is that um, if you search in what these skills are, they apply to a web developer. So you could do it the reverse. If you wanted to know what web developers' skill were, you can type in that and do different types of searches to really map out what different skills, what courses you could be taking. So it's a great way to kind of, you know, see a little bit more clearly through all the haze, all these different job titles, if you break it down into skills. And you also notice there's 4,000 hits for JavaScript and only 45 job titles for web developer. That means that there's so many different job titles for someone needing JavaScript, which is again why it's so hard to understand the labor market data that's out there. So I thought we'd take a few case studies and look at some of the different skills that are out there. So if you didn't know, right now everyone's talking about Python. And there's a lot of different proprietary organizations offering Python boot camps, etc. So this analysis actually was done by Wanted Analytics. And if you look at in January 2014, job ads requiring Python skills were up. And if you guys don't know, it's a pretty advanced programming language that's used along with Linux, Apache, MySQL, etc. for software developers. So Python skills were up 8.7% from the same time last year, while IT jobs overall were down 5%. So you could say, generally, Python is obviously a lot more in demand than other skills right now. Should I take this? Should I add it to my portfolio? Should I invest a whole semester of time? If you look closer in the data, you see that Java, JavaScript, and SQL, other programming languages, have a higher volume of job ads. So there's actually more job ads there. So that may be an option for you as well, to take those other languages instead. But my take from this is it's actually a bundle of different skills that you need. Python alone would not provide a competitive edge unless you had some of these other programming languages to go along with it, particularly like a web stack is what they call it. But recruiters are going crazy trying to find people with Python, particularly in the Bay Area. So if you're able to take that along with some other skills, it could help you to have that competitive advantage. So I think that's what I really wanted to point out, is just what are the bundles of skills you should be taking, and thinking about exactly every course that you're taking. How is that going to help me be more competitive when I'm going up against other job seekers who have very similar skills and possibly more experience than I do. So a lot of industries use certifications to show value in what someone's learned. At City College, you're probably earning a degree, a credential, some type of certification, and being rewarded for the skill attainment that you've earned. What type of certification should you get, whether you're networking security, programming, multimedia? Right now, and this is nationally, the hardest to recruit for certifications are Cisco Network Associate, Systems Security Professional, and a PMP, which goes across, it's beyond IT. It's actually in high demand in IT, but it's anyone in any industry can get a project management certificate. So what this tells us and what we've seen anecdotally from employers is that in networking and security, certifications are really important. And the information is unclear in some of the other industries. No matter what, a credential, having those courses, its value. The credentials that are put together at City College and other schools are there because the faculty have done the research and they've determined that, well, just like in Python, you need, you not only need Python, but you need all these other courses as well, whether it's to learn the foundations or just to be able to be adept at what you're doing on the job. A side note here on the security professionals. HP, this is also in the Wanted Analytics article here. Huge demand. They hire more security professionals than anyone right down on the peninsula. So an extra tip there. And then finally, project management here. And this is just from experience and not necessarily what was in this article, but project management really doesn't stand alone. Generally, to get a PMP, you have to have actually a certain level of experience in a given job, and it needs to go along with other technical skills. So the next one, the creative talent pool. So multimedia. In the first half of 2004, 13% of marketing advertising executives plan to increase their hiring for creative talent. This is mainly in the area of social media, media services, brand management, interactive media, etc. Print design, these are all 12 to 16%. Print design followed below it at 9%. And I think that's an important piece to put out in terms of multimedia and how so much of the industry is changing online. But I put this example up to show where the actual jobs are. You have your bundle of skills. You have your credential. Where's the best place to find a job? If you like AMC, like me, and you like to watch Mad Men, you know that the advertising agency is a very cool place to work. In the 60s and even more so now. But advertising agencies make up less than 1% of all the job listings in advertising online, and this is nationally. So while a niche advertising firm where that's all you would do, and it's a great, cool, creative environment, it's a small it's a small part. It's one piece of a larger, really job opportunities in the creative arts that are in all different types of companies, industries. And the article here points out software publishers in particular had the highest number of ads posted online. So think outside of the box, I guess, would be the message there. Jobs aren't always going to be specifically in the industries that you think they are. So I thought we'd try to solve our question in our time here: Android versus the iOS operating system. So if we look at nationally where the jobs are, iOS skills, there's 3,000 jobs, at least there were when this was posted in September, compared to about 1,700 for Android. So if you were to stop there, you'd say, well, there's more job opportunities if I learn iOS development instead of Android development. But One Analytics pointed out that Android skills appear to be more versatile. And I think I quoted them here, in that the specific skill set applies to more job titles. So if you have an inkling of technology, you know that there's more Android devices, right? Apple, the iOS system only works on Apple devices. So there's a broader market for Android. And if you were to take that a little bit further, you could say, well, actually, if there's different job opportunities with all these different devices that Android's on, that could mean that they're going to grow more in the long term. So that might be a good bet for you. And it goes either way, and we've actually tried to invest in both, more so in Android because of that. But actually, and I didn't want to put it on the slide because I didn't want anyone to see it without any context. BlackBerry actually wins. And it's because if you look right now, the hiring difficulty for someone with expertise in BlackBerry development is so high. But then again, there's not that many jobs. And yeah, if you look at RIM, Research in Motion, or follow their quarterly earnings, they're not doing so well, and we don't know what's going to happen with them. So there's a lot of context to how you're thinking about what types of courses you should be taking, or what kind of experience that you want to attain. And actually, what I do on my iPhone, I actually follow TechCrunch pretty regularly. They're a great source. Dice is another good source to kind of keep tabs on industry and what's happening there. So what are the hiring trends? So I put a few very broad, bold statements out here. Soft skills really matter. They really matter. Experience matters. Sometimes credentials matter. We kind of briefly talked about that. And then networking is really how the industry works. And just stepping on soft skills here for a minute. That's a term we use in workforce development, but it's I'm sure used elsewhere. But it's basically your interpersonal skills that you have with others, whether it's in an interview, whether it's doing networking, it's on the job, it's interacting with others, and it's almost more important than experience in some cases, because that's what gets you in the door in different companies. So went from a few bullets to a lot of detail here. What this is a side-by-side of the most in-demand skills according to a national survey that Wanted Analytics or a partner of theirs did, and a similar survey that our office did in San Francisco with different tech employers. And if you notice, the number one skill cited there is communication. And that it's really important to know how much problem solving, teamwork, communication is important. And when I mentioned this Scrum earlier, if anyone doesn't know what that is, it's like this daily, weekly meeting where you're figuring out, and it's part of the agile development process in development with a lot of tech companies where things are changing because people run into programming problems, etc. And so they're learning basically all the time. And this Scrum is everyone getting together and talking about all the issues that they ran into, and developing this product in a very real time way, and being able to convey your very complex issues in a very simple way is really important, as is working in a team on a daily basis with your coworkers. And then there's some other gems in there. Java, programming language, is way up there for in-demand skills. HTML5 and JavaScript, no surprises there. Web development foundations. SQL comes up a lot, as does project management in both of those. It did not. I'm not sure if we specifically asked for QA. I'd have to go back and look. So some honorable mentions on our side. We could only go to 20. Linux and CSS were also in there. So another comparison to the one in analytics. So the soft skills that were in these lists, this is a skills pyramid that the Department of Labor, the Employment and Training Administration, boring stuff, uses, exciting to me, uses for all industries. And this one is specific to ICT. And all the personal effectiveness competencies, the academic, the workplace that you see, we'd say that those are all basically soft skills that you would need to have on the job, and they relate to any job. They're transferable. So just underscoring how important it is to focus on soft skills, thinking about how you're presenting yourself to others, and particularly in interviews and meeting with different companies, how you're demonstrating your positive attributes that you have. Because if you hit it off right with someone, an HR recruiter is more likely to take a chance with someone when there's a connection, and there may not be that experience there. So overall, what are employers looking for? They value previous experience, particularly in well-known firms. Recruiting from other firms is a reality in the hiring process in the tech sector, particularly in programming. Companies are looking for the best candidates, and the word on the street is that the best candidates have experience at other well-known firms. And programmers get paid a decent amount as well, and that's part of the reason they're in high demand for a lot of different programming skill sets. But I focus so much on the soft skills because, and this is a report here. These are quotes from a report that Silicon Valley Workforce Board did in 2011. Is that employers prefer applicants who can demonstrate adaptability and entrepreneurial drive over applicants with more years of experience, but with the same soft workplace skills. So in other words, you can have a lot of experience, but if you don't have those soft skills, you're not going to be as marketable. So it's a really important thing to present yourself with those soft skills. In addition to that, employers really emphasize the need for job seekers to have tangible portfolios or work products. A great example for a programmer would be GitHub. Working with others online to develop a product and being able to point a prospective employer to that site to look at the work you've done. So demonstratable is really the key word there is having work that you can show that you can show. Employers will often want to see some type of demonstrated experience. What maybe the exception to this rule maybe is that in networking, network security, a credential has as much value, anecdotally has as much value as other tangible products that you'd see in multimedia or programming where you need to develop something. Having a credential in network security is proof of that demonstrated experience. So just kind of reiterating here what we've learned from employers, communication and problem solving are must-haves, and equally, if not more important than some technical skills, which are great in bundles. and having a competitive edge, having the same skills as someone else, and then one extra thing to really pad that resume. Employers value candidates with experience, demonstrated, applicable, and tailored to their company. They're looking for the perfect candidate, which is like every company, every industry is always looking for someone with this exact experience that I need. I need someone to come in and do this. That's not really the reality. But people strive, hiring managers strive to do it in all industries. But if you have worked offline, or not, if you've worked, if you've completed projects outside of the workplace and you have other demonstrated experience, that also helps with employers. And then again, credentials are important in networking and security. So this is a chart showing what different types of hiring processes are used at different organizations. And it's from the Chronicle of Higher Education and American Public Media, and my colleagues from Westside actually pulled this together for a look at the industry we did in the fall. And if you see HR screens, all industries and media and science, tech, are all pretty equivalent. So that's basically just going through the applications that come through the door. But look where employee referrals are in all the industries and in tech. So looking through an application and having someone who works for you refer, as a recruiter, refer someone that they know, they're equivalent in how people get into the company. Which is to say that networking is so incredibly important in the tech industry. That if you know someone, you have the same chance as anyone who submitted their resume online, not knowing anyone in the company. So it's really important to keep that in mind, that there's all sorts of networking opportunities out there. In San Francisco particularly, you can get on Eventbrite and get on a mailing list to find out all these different types of, a lot of times even, happy hours, cocktail hours that are available. A lot of them are free, actually, and just going and meeting people. A great example, does anyone know who Brian Acton is? So he used to work at Yahoo. He worked there for about 11 years. And I don't know if he lost his job there or if he decided he wanted to do something else. But he was looking for a job. This is back in 2009. And he actually got turned down. He had an interview at Facebook and he was turned down. He had an interview at Twitter and he was turned down as a software developer. And then he connected with his Yahoo colleague, and they started a small company called WhatsApp. Does that sound familiar? So they just sold their company. I'm sure the investors are also involved, to Facebook for $19 billion this week. So while that's an extreme case of how working with other colleagues can certainly lead to some lucrative ends, it's an important story to tell. Just think that by networking with other people, it's going to get you a leg up with any hiring in the industry or any projects that you're working on. A lot of times, in San Francisco, particularly right now, is a lot of people are developing apps and doing things out of the workplace together. So that's a great way to build your portfolio, and meeting people at these networking events is a great way to say, hey, I have XYZ skill. Oh, you do this skill, we should work together and just try something. It happens a lot. And people start their own startups that way, or worst case scenario, they meet someone else who can then introduce them to someone else and eventually lead to more hiring opportunities. So I'm going to pitch Nerd Underground. If you guys have been to that, that's something that the TechSF initiative, along with Bay Area Veto Coalition, um, hosts. In the fall, we were doing them every month, every other month. We went on a hiatus for a couple of months and had a couple other different activities, actually. And now our next one is going to be at 1 Kings Lane, which is actually in the Twitter building on Market on Thursday, March 20th. And again, pointing out that even if you go and the only other person that you end up talking to at that event is a fellow job seeker, a fellow student, that's still someone else that may know someone else that can get you a job. So always try to do as many networking events. It's how the industry works. There it is again. We did a couple of one survey, 2 or 3 different focus groups or interviews with employers, and what we found is that locally, employers find candidates obviously through a mix of job postings, referrals, internal promotions. That's big with companies. They're always trying to grow from within, and so a lot of the positions end up ideally trickling down to where they're more entry level. There's certainly a lot of recruitment done at colleges. Our office is working to try to get a lot more companies to be doing direct recruitment here and at San Francisco State, as opposed to some of the big name schools. Another area where there's a lot of recruitment happening is LinkedIn. It's primarily for more senior positions, but it's a great way to get introductions nonetheless to other people. So I want to temper some of this with the realities of the tech industry. So there's not always a job that results from networking. Eventually there could be. But what we found, and it's important to keep in mind, is that the minimum level of experience that is on a job ad is not necessarily the level of experience of the person that's going to be hired. It's more likely that the person who has 2+ years, 4+ years more experience than is required is going to actually get the job. And that is because the tech industry is hyper competitive. It's why we've seen so much growth in San Francisco. Is so many people want to work in the tech industry. There's so many opportunities and well-paying jobs that a lot of people are doing. Maybe what you've done here, maybe I'm talking to you, is that you've switched industries to come into tech because of the opportunity. The result of that is it's hyper competitive. There's the highest job growth happening in San Francisco in this industry, but there's also so many people that are trying to get into the industry. So every little bit of networking, any competitive advantage that you have by an additional skill set, credentials that you have, any way that you can get a competitive edge in the industry is really important. And that's including experience that you're gaining outside of the workplace. Again, projects demonstrating that experience that you've had. So, to pitch again, TechSF is designed to do just that, is help students who are at City College in computer science and multimedia and CNIT, as well as students at State and any job seekers working with these different organizations, to provide job search skills, to help you try to get connected to internships, to get your portfolio online, to have, if you're in multimedia, it's a great example. BAVAC is a great source of. They do a peer portfolio review, so they will a team of experts will look at your online portfolio and say, this is going to make you more marketable, this is not, this is what you need to adjust it. It's a lot of really good advice that comes from people who are in workforce development in this field. They know how the industry works, that can help students who are currently in it or currently taking classes to get a little ahead, to get that competitive advantage, that edge, before you actually graduate. I remember when I finished my undergrad, I remember just kind of twiddling my thumbs for a couple of months, like, okay, now it's time to look for a job, and it was hard. And so it's please learn from my example. Start doing the job search before the semester's over. Try to get set on it. I'm sure you guys are already doing a lot of that. Go to industry events now. Start doing your networking now. It's really important. If you're interested in enrolling in the program, we have orientations at our different access points. February 25th is the next one at Goodwill, which is Mission and Van Ness. You can also go online and apply online to get services, which is what most people do. The bavac.org/TechSF actually has a direct link to the application that you can sign up for to start accessing these services. And just some different information for folks about the program. And we, obviously work closely with the Department of Labor, and WestEd is an organization we also work with to put all this together. So that's all I have today.